Josh Green here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by my good friend and legendary broadcaster, Mr. Adam Smith.
Hi
Good to
Josh, how
see
you
you.
doing?
Very, very well. First time in 2025 speaking to yourself, Adam. Really good to see you. How has the year opened up for yourself?
Yeah, it's not sort of Happy New Year anymore. It's a little bit late for that, maybe, but yeah, I echo those sentiments. Hope you had a good Christmas. I know you're on the darts. I went up to the darts. I loved it. That's my other sport and my bit of fun. So yeah, that was enjoyable. We had a few days out in Malta, which was fun. On Spencer Brown's recommendation, because Tyson Fury had trained there before the Usyk fight, and he said it's really cool, and we went out and had a lovely time. So to the family out there and got back, and yeah, lots of things going on, really exciting sort of 2025 planned, really helping lots of different areas and hopefully doing lots of cool fun things. And yeah, I start the year happy and healthy, and grateful to be here, as you know, grateful to be alive, I think, is the New Year's resolution, and try and stay that way. And yeah, had some really quality time with my family, and my kids are all going through different stages at the moment, teenagers, and you're looking at universities or going to university, and sort of planning GCSEs, things like that. So lots happening in our household, and yeah, all good, thank you, and I hope in yours.
Yeah, really good. Thank you, Adam. I know you're a man that's got things in many different pies. What are you particularly looking forward to and particularly working on over the next couple of months in your career?
Yeah, a few things really. It was lovely to be asked to do the Usyk Fury 2 fight with DAZN just before Christmas. So I'm hoping that maybe I could do some more work with them. That was brilliant fun. I really enjoyed working with the team. Talk Sport, as you know, I love going on Simon and Jim and working with Ed Huntley and the team. So again, those things sort of slightly out of my control, but I'm hoping that they'll knock again, and I'll do some more broadcasting work. I really look forward to that. I want to push my podcast on this year. I've got some great guests at the end of last year on The Voice of Boxing. Eddie came on, and Sky Nicholson was brilliant. Joe Parker, we had Dillian White. So looking to do pick up on that. And I've got Big Mo coming in a couple of weeks. I'm trying to get Jack Catchall before his fight. So some really really good names, and want to keep that going. I love doing that with Loungers TV. Doing my summit work, GBM, yeah, my Ready to Fight work with Andy Levada and the Usyk team. And I think the real thing that I want to push on with this year is a new business, which is called Talk the Talk. I've launched it with my great friend, and I think he's the best communication coach I've ever come across, certainly in Britain. His name's Hugo Simpson. He's worked a lot at Sky. He came up with the idea of the gloves are off many years ago, and we worked very closely together when I was at Sky, helping the likes of Johnny Nelson and Carl Froch and AJ for a bit, and also like Savannah Marshall in terms of sort of bringing her back with her communication. And we think communication is absolutely key for sporting athletes. We're both sporting nuts. We love athletes. We want to help give back. And we want to sort of, yeah, join forces, I guess, a bit, because he's very good in the commercial world. And obviously I know the boxing world. So yeah, we're sort of open for business. I think he's brilliant at sort of getting people to talk and communicate better, keeping them authentic, but making sure, just giving them some tips about how to best utilize the way they talk and the way they come across. And I think it's really important for fighters because they're self promoters. They're either the good guy or the bad guy, or they're not quite sure what guy they are. And stories have got to be developed, of course, by promoters and managers. And I think that what we can do is provide a service. We're not going to go in and do anything else, but we want to just provide a service around these fighters to help support them. So, like. For example, we're working with Adam Azim. Adam Azim came to us. I've been close to him from the beginning, and he had a session with Hugo, and he loved it. And he said, "Oh, look, I really need some help." And by reaching out, it's the first big step, because I think communication is massively important. I think it's not just in the media, but when you're up on a stage, when you're in front of cameras, when you're under the spotlight, even in a ring fighting, you need to be very confident in your skin and confident about what you want to say and how you want to get it across. And also it's life outside of boxing too. It builds up other strands and your brand, of course. And then, when boxing the short career is finished, you can go into to other things. It doesn't have to be commentary, although I can help with that, with commentating and presenting and reporting and some tips on that. I know one or two fighters who definitely want to become commentators after they finish. So we'll be having a chat with them to see if we can help them. But also, if you're starting businesses or if you're doing going to other things, even a lot of fighters go into property and stuff like that, just running things and just general communicating. It doesn't have to be down a lens or in front of a massive audience. It's just generally communicating and feeling better in your skin. And we saw some huge differences when we worked with guys before, and we think we can make a real change. We've had a few sessions already with Adam. He absolutely loves it, and hopefully, it's going to take time. Obviously, these things to bed in, but hopefully, you'll see a bit of a change with Adam. And again, it's not for us; it's for him. It's helping him. We want him to reach his potential. And actually, it's he's 22 and he's come to us, and that's great. But if Dalton Smith comes to me and says, "I really need help," then Dalton Smith's next on the list. Just because they're going to fight each other maybe one day, and maybe we can help, provide the narrative for that fight. That's the sort of thing we want to do. We're in the heart of Froch Groves, and Hugo really helped Carl, particularly with the second fight, because George was really getting to him. And so I guess it's a little bit of it's communication coaching, but it's a little bit of trust as well, and sort of just working out how fighters are feeling and how they want to feel and how they want to come across. And look, I mean, for example, when I started broadcasting, I was talking at 100 miles an hour. I was very high, and I was, you learn over the years the pace. You learn over the years that you want to come over a little differently. You need to sort of utilize your words in a different way, and yeah, sometimes you have brain freezes, and I've got ADHD, and Adam I think has, and so I understand that there's difficulties occasionally when you lose track or you want to be more sort of calm with things, and you learn it, and it's experience. And look, if I can help Adam, and so can Hugo, then we'll feel better. We don't. It's not something that we want to do every day. We have our own other things that we get on with. He runs a business called Lawton Scott, which is very successful, and obviously I want to broadcast and do other things in boxing. So I wouldn't say it's a sort of full-time thing, but it's something that we can help other fighters with. So yeah, the door's open, and if anyone wants our help, then they can just get in touch. It's called Talk the Talk. We're just softly launching, and I've already explained to people, to managers and stuff, that it's nothing to do with getting involved in a fighter like that. We want to make that very clear. It's a service we're providing, and anyone can have us. We want to work with some really good people. I was writing an article on Moses Itauma for the Ring magazine last week, and I thought he'd be great. And I'm not saying it's not that people can't communicate. Adam's a good communicator, so is Moses, so is Fabio Wardley, so is Sky Nicholson, brilliant communicator. There's lots that are very good out there. But we're saying that if you're not that good and need a bit of confidence and need a bit of help to get better and to sort of tell your story and your profile a bit better, then great, we'll help you with that. And if you're maybe already a 7, 8 out of 10 like a Ben Whittaker, then we could even help you get even better from that standing. So I mean, Hugo works wonders, and I'm not just on for the ride, but I've got my skills. Obviously, I've worked in TV a long time. I understand media from both sides, so and I have a little bit of boxing knowledge too, so I can help out. But it's more about just getting help out there for people that need communication assistance. And actually, some people already come to us who are sort of working in the broadcasting world, and others saying, "Oh, well, I wouldn't mind doing that," because I think it helps everybody. Really, it helps me, it helps Hugo, it helps others, and it's just something that I think is really important if you want to take your career further and maybe deeper and maybe wider. To be a good communicator is just a massive help in life, and we're open for business, and we're here to help give back.
Good stuff. January isn't generally a busy month in boxing. That's maybe a little bit different in 2025, as well as all the fights we've got coming up. We've had a huge amount of news surrounding some really big fights, none less so than Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. That seems to be pretty much over the line now, just waiting for the final announcement regarding that one. How do you view that as a fight now in 2025 to when it was first made? God, nearly what, 2 years ago?
It's interesting. I was having a chat with Simon Jordan, Frank Warren, other people about it. Yeah, everyone's got very, very strong points on this fight. Mine's pretty simple. I think casual fans need to get involved in the sport still. I think it's the Bivol Beterbiev sort of type of fights, which are fantastic, are always going to be loved by fight fans. And you look at February the 22nd. It's the best card that's ever been put on. It's an absolute monster. It's an absolute firecracker for fight fans. But when I tell my sporting fans I'm looking forward to a big night in a few weeks, they're like, oh, yeah, is that Dubois? It's the guy that beat, and who's Zhang, and who they don't really know yet. I think the fight fans obviously do, but I think the casual fans, and there's probably four or five names that casual fans just know now. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, obviously, and that fight I think still needs to happen. And Conor Benn and Chris Eubank, or Chris Eubank and Conor Benn. It doesn't really matter. Eubank and Benn are names that they're familiar with. They obviously know the story of what happened. I actually didn't like it much last time as a fight with the beforehand, before all the difficulties and it was called off. But when I thought about the weights and everything, I was a little bit uncomfortable with it. But time has moved on. I think Conor is naturally bigger than he was anyway. And I think that it is an acid um, fight that and story and rivalry that is going to light up the back pages. Or maybe the back pages are more your social media pages these days, but it's going to light up the internet. And I think anything like that for our sport is great. Do I like Misfits? I went to Misfits. It was my first fight back after my illness. I went to see Tommy Fury in KSI, not because I wanted to see, I was so excited about the outcome of Tommy Fury in KSI, more because my daughter wanted to see Tommy Fury. So we went along, and I know KSI, so we went along and we had a great night. Um, was it world class boxing? No. Does it say it is? No. Is it something that gets people excited? Yes. So there's a place for it. Look how they're doing. Fantastic. Um, Bare Knuckle are starting up. They're looking for big things. Obviously, the UFC, PFL. There's different outlets for different people. As far as hardcore boxing fans looking at this, I can understand them maybe saying, "Don't really like this fight. The weights, the difficulty with it. Are they even the best in the world? Probably not. All of those sort of things." But I think they are very good fighters. They are sons of legends. They are incredibly charismatic. Um, they're polar opposites. I interviewed both of them at the Ring Magazine Awards the other night, and they're both very good communicators, by the way, in their different ways. And there's a hatred. There's pride. Um, Ben's going to be vicious. Eubank is going to try and utilize his skills. Fascinating to see how Eubank really makes the weight and how strong he is. Fascinating to see whether Ben is as strong on the night. He's got to take the fight to Eubank. I think it's going to be very exciting. So there's a lot of things that I like about it. Do I understand the controversy and the slight maybe disinterest in it, or maybe that it's not the best in the world fighting the best in the world, and there's other fighters that say, "Hang on a minute, we should have that stage." But what sells?
Hmm.
Entertainment, storytelling. Colin Brook was too late. Mayweather Pacquiao was too late. Fury Joshua hasn't happened yet. I mean, let's have these fights. Let's have these fights where you don't know who's going to win, where you know you're going to be entertained in the build up, and you're going to get a big audience. I mean, you're absolutely. It will be nonsense not to have tried really hard to make this fight, which they have, and they've got it over the line. So for me, I'm excited about it.
You mentioned the word disinterest there. There's been a story that's come out in the last week or so regarding Sky Sports and their reluctance to show the fight, mainly centering around obviously the adverse finding from the previous fight and the links to Majid. Can you sort of understand where Sky are coming from in that decision?
Look, boxing is a controversial sport at best. Um, you're always going to have things in boxing that are not always going to sit comfortably. I guess certainly with big corporations. I was in Sky for 29 years, and yeah, we talk long and hard about things and how things will look, how things will come across. We worked very hard, for example, on the all women's night back in 2022, and look, we're having another in a few weeks' time at the Royal Albert Hall. I can't wait for it. It's going to be a brilliant night. And that's something that's obviously very good for Sky. Maybe they feel that there's been bad publicity around this, that it's not the sort of fight they're necessarily jumping to do. I'm not there anymore, so I can't speak for Sky. What I can speak for is that the fact that I know the fight's happening, it's going to be covered, and people are going to be watching it. So, if I look back at the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, was I excited about that? No. Was I hopeful that they'd both come out, or certainly Michael come out healthy? Yes, as a 58-year-old man. I didn't like the fight, but I understood it. And I was absolutely watching it because it drew me in like it drew everybody in, not because I was particularly interested in the result. I thought it would be some sort of exhibition. I thought it would be pretty much as it played out. But it was an event, and it involved a legend and a very famous YouTuber. I'm not sure the match was right in any way, really. I think I'd love, Jake to stick with people he thinks he can beat in boxing currently. Other YouTubers, all that sort of stuff is fine. I think just bringing an old guy out of retirement who is or retirement is bringing an old guy out, and all the stuff you can see in the pads in the gym, and respect to Mike for getting himself into that sort of shape, but boxing waits for no man, and I don't like to see things like that. And I was just concerned that Mike got out safe and sound, as I think a lot of people were. But then people were saying, "Oh, Tyson's going to knock him out, roll back the years, and all of that." And there's a younger generation that never sort of saw Tyson, so I guess there is a when Muhammad Ali was old and ill, and people still, even though he wasn't in the ring anymore, everyone wanted to see him because he was Muhammad Ali. And I think if Mike Tyson had gone into, I don't know, I'm a Celebrity, or gone and done a triathlon or something, and everyone was watching, and I think maybe that's a sort of more interesting thing to do rather than put him back into a place where he once dominated but was never going to be able to pull any sort of trigger because the legs are just not there anymore. So yeah, I'm sort of glad it was what it was. But my point is that everyone seemed to watch that, or a lot of people. It got criticism. Occasionally, when you put controversial stuff on, it will get criticism. Sometimes you put fights on that people are not that interested in, and they think, "Why are you doing that?" So you have to make decisions. Sky will make the best decision for them, and everybody, whether you don't like the fight. I mean, Simon and I have argued about it, and whether you don't like it or you do like it. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Don't get involved in it. Don't be there. It's very easy. People used to say to me, "Why are you charging this for pay-per-view at Sky?" I said, "Well, if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. That's why we're charging what we're charging, because we need to, for the fighters to get the money and for the business to work. We'll give you everything we can for that money, the build-ups, all the shows you want, all everything. But if you don't want to be involved, then don't do it. What we don't want, obviously, is people to stream and pirate, and then there's a lot of people trying to make something into a premium product, and it's not respected like that. But that's going to happen. People are going to watch this fight, even if it went underground. So do it with proper rules. Do it in a big stadium. Do it in London, where it's going to get traffic. I'm telling you, people will get rolled up in it. I did last time. I was really excited about it last time, even though I wasn't particularly comfortable with the fight. I was still really excited about it, and then obviously what happened, and Connor's been through hell and back trying to clear his name, and everybody's got their opinions on that. And listen, he's free to fight. He's going to fight. He should fight Eubank. It makes sense from a story point of view. I'm a storyteller, Josh. I grew up on stories, on Greek myths, on big fights, on big sporting events. I like characters, and I like stories, rivalries. That's what gets my juices flowing. We mentioned Adam Azim and Dalton Smith earlier. That could be the next Ben Eubank, it could be the next Froch Groves. They're different characters, but that's a great, probably rivalry trilogy that's going to happen at some stage. So yeah, we've got to get excited by that. There's not that many of them around, and that may be Turkey's. Turkey's got a phenomenal head start in boxing, and he's got everyone fighting the best. But you continue to do that, you're going to lose a few, and then suddenly you've got to have the next generation coming through strong. Now we know we've got good fighters, on the horizon. I'm helping Kyle Davis, Sophie Alish at the beginning of their careers. You've got the likes of Junaid Boston, Callum Simpson had a great win the other weekend. Frank's got loads of young good fighters coming. So is Eddie. Ben's got obviously Lauren Price and Tasha Jonas. Caroline Dubois looks fantastic. There's some really good talent coming through. But of course, you can't have Casey Taylor and Amanda Serrano every night of the week. You can't have a Fury Joshua. We haven't had it yet. So I think when you're offered a big crossover fight like Eubank and Ben, or Ben and Eubank, or however you want to see it, and people know it, they're going to watch it. So that can only be good when you pack the card with great talent as well. I'd love it with some really good young fighters on that bill. Then you get the crossover, a little bit like when we did the KSI Logan Paul fight in LA, and we had Billy Joe Saunders, I think, and Devon Haney. Do we have on the undercard? I can't remember. We had a couple of really good fighters on the undercard, and it's just there. So then you get the younger audience watching good fighters. So it's a bit of that. It's not quite like that. It's not not a misfits fight. This is two excellent fighters in Chris Eubank and Conor Benn. Terrific fighters. Neither are world champion, so it is what it is at this level. But they're very good fighters. They're going to train extremely hard for it. Everything's in the pot. Why don't we just enjoy it?
Well, yeah, that is certainly a view that I think lots of people are taking this time around. When the fight does roll around this April, excuse the pun, but which way do you see the scales tipping in favor of Eubank or in favor of Ben?
Yeah, I think Eubank will probably start a favourite because he's the bigger guy. He's potentially he's more skillful. He's certainly got maybe a slightly harder style to read. However, Conor's got youth on his side. He, I think, will be pretty comfortable at the weight because he's coming up, and I like that in a fighter rather than dragging yourself down. So I think that's going to be a big factor in this fight. And I think if Conor doesn't get hurt in the early rounds, and I think he wants this so much, and I think the vicious intent of Conor Benn could be a real problem for Eubank Jr. Look, it's a very interesting fight. I don't think it's an easy one to pick, but Liam Smith stopped Eubank, and if he can, then there's no reason Conor Benn can't put the heat on Eubank. He already says he's going to knock him out. But then Eubank looked really good against Smith. If Eubank's at his very best, it's a hard night for Conor Benn. But if Conor Benn's at his very best, it's a hard night for Chris Eubank. So it's one of those that I think I don't know if I might be slightly leaning towards the younger man, slightly, and maybe last time I was leaning more towards Eubank. But it's the scales are there, aren't they? I think it's too difficult a fight to predict, certainly at this stage, until we see them nearer the time and how they're looking at the weight in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Steering away from that and towards Anthony Joshua. The name Deontay Wilder has been mentioned a number of times this week, linked with a fight with Anthony Joshua. It's a fight that I think we thought had gone. We weren't going to see that one, but with AJ's defeat to Daniel Dubois and the position that Wilder's in his career, do you believe that fight very much could be back on? Do you believe there is the public interest still in that fight?
Well, it's firstly whether you believe Tyson Fury's retiring. I was with Frank Warren the other day, and I didn't mention it to him, but I look, if he is retiring, he's had an amazing career, and let's do it properly, right? Let's have a proper retirement, not just a 17-second Instagram post, right? That's why I am suspicious, as I normally am with Tyson when he says these sort of things. Let's have a proper thing like Lennox did. Let's book a London hotel or a Blackpool hotel or whatever he fancies, or on the Blackpool football pitch, and let's celebrate his career. It's been a phenomenal career. He's not just going to slip away into the sunset, I don't think. So I think if that fight, which I think is very much still there to be made this year, is got to be the favourite. That's the fight that the casuals want to see. We mentioned Eubank Benn, Fury Joshua is the fight people want to see. Again, I tore into Simon Jordan on Talksport the other day in a nice friendly way, but he said, "Who cares that Tyson's retired?" And I said, "Come on!" I said, "The sport's a better place at the moment with Tyson Fury, and he brings excitement, and we still want to see the Joshua fight, do we?" Well, yeah, we do, because well, it's two losers. Well, yeah, that's pretty harsh, right? The two of them have been the two heavyweights of our generation in Britain, and they've been fantastic, and they're polar opposites, and there's not been a lot of love. And imagine the build up, and imagine stopping traffic at Wembley, and maybe one at Wembley and one in Saudi. I don't know. Why not? Why don't we try and do it this year? It's a lot of money for the fighters. It definitely sells. And the British public don't care. They both coming off defeats. I mean, Tyson's wasn't a bad defeat, and AJ's was he got caught, and that's the end of it. I mean, I don't know. I like that fight. If they can't make that fight, then there's loads of other fights for AJ. You know, he could fight Moses Itauma, he could fight Martin Piccoli, he could fight Deontay Wilder, he could fight anyone. He could fight Dubois again, obviously in a rematch. He could fight Joe Parker again. There's Zhilai Zhang in China. There's so many fights he could have. I like the Piccoli fight in Africa. I think that's quite an interesting one. Deontay Wilder is a good friend of mine. I've known him for a long time, and you know, I was pretty sure with my feelings when I saw him out in Saudi that I didn't think there was anything really left for Deontay. He looked to me as though he didn't really want to throw his punches properly. His legs looked as though they weren't quite what they were. Now, were they just a bad time he was going through? And only obviously Malik Scott and the team know what Deontay's like day to day. Um, I'm not here to tell people to retire. I don't want fighters to go on too long, by the way, you know, because I care about them. But I don't. I'm not there to tell them to retire. There's, you know, if they want another payday, they want another fight, they want to go for it again. Go for it again. So if Deontay Wilder wants to fight AJ, it's a huge fight. It was a huge fight a few years ago. We very nearly made it. Shelley Finkel was very clever, and he got the third Fury fight. It didn't happen, but it's a fight that will again electrify you know, in the ring, and it will electrify the build up. So it's a, you know, so with Dillian White and Deontay Wilder at this stage. So there's still big fights to make out there that are going to capture the imagination of the public, even if Tyson Fury does decide to call it a day. But I don't think he quite is yet. And for me, if I was AJ, I'd be trying to get that fight over the line.
Now, I think I know the answer to this one, but if you could have one New Year's resolution for boxing in 2025, I think we've just talked about it. What would that be, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, I'd like to see Fury and Joshua, but it's probably not my top of my New Year's resolution list. I think I want 2025 to be a growing year in boxing. I love the fact that Turkey Al Sheik has taken over the Ring magazine. I think it's great that we're bringing boxing around again. There's a buzz about it. I want to see young talent come through. I think there is a bit of a gap, you know, with the AJ Fury sort of brigade and some of the best fighters. You know, we've got Eubank and Benn. There's not too many other British domestic firecracker rivalries that we've got for this year, for example. So I think we need to really not just invest in grassroots, but we want to make sure, like, I'm on Saturday, I'm in Nottingham for Dalton Smith. Next week, I'm in London for Adam Azim. The week after, I'm with in Manchester for the Chisora night. You know, I want to see a lot of good domestic shows. Friday, February the 7th as well, is Sheffield's GBM show, first show of the year, top with a really good European title fight. Shakan Pitters, very, very good opponent. And I think, you know, that's the sort of, you know, we want good shows up and down the country. GBM have got big plans this year. I know about that. But others too. Matchroom have got big plans. Queensbury obviously finish off with TNT. They go to DAZN. They got big plans. I know that Cal and Nissa have big plans, both in Channel 5 and for Misfits. And I know that obviously boxing are seeing really big shows coming on. We've got Adam Azim next week. We've got the March the 7th, which is an absolute brilliant show for the women. So there's great stuff coming up. There's a lot of big shows. So my real wish is to continue the growth of boxing and to see the young come through, get their opportunities, whether it's on the big Saudi stage that Turkey's providing, the opportunities of the big money and the big attention, or whether it's also in Britain building up to that and making sure that we look after these young fighters, Croller's brothers, say Junaid Boston, all these guys that are sort of coming through. Women's boxing needs a little bit of an injection again. I think March the 7th will help. I think another big, Katie Taylor or Amanda Serrano fight will help. Chantel Cameron as well. I'd like to see Sky Nicholson in another couple of big fights. And I'd like to see that develop this year as well. I think that's just flattened out slightly. So, yeah, you know what I'm about, Josh. I'm all about boxers. I want to see boxers be looked after properly. I want to see them get well paid. That's why we're doing our business to help the communication side, because we think it's a key component in it. And I like to see, by the end of 2025, fighters have really sort of moved on. I think the heavyweight landscape's really, really fascinating. But yeah, I guess if you said, put a gun to my head and said, what's the one fight I want to happen this year? And I do want Martin Bakole to get a world title shot. And I do want Alexander Usyk to fight Daniel Dubois again, or Moses Itauma, because Moses told me he wants Usyk ASAP. So I'm very, very excited about Itauma and very excited about those things. But if there's one thing that I think will help the sport of boxing with the casual fans and this whole new buzz, is Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua sharing a ring at Wembley this summer. I really do. I think it's one of those fights that just transcends boxing. It takes us into football. It takes us into the wider audience. Everyone's going to want to be involved, be there, be around it, feel it, and no one knows who's going to win. So that's a fight I'd like to see, and I've been very close to seeing that 2 or 3 times in my Sky career. I remember one time I was with AJ and I had Tyson on the phone, and the fighters wanted it so much, and it never happened. The fans still want it, I think. Maybe not our hardcore fans, but the fans still want it, the sports fans. And I think the fighters still want it. So, and Turkey wants it. So, come on, let's get it on. Fury Joshua, Joshua Fury, double it up this year. And then it's done. Then they can ride off into the sunset. We can still have them involved in sport. They can inspire the next generation. We'll see where the heavyweights are at that point. Where's Dubois? Where's Itauma? Zhilei Zhang? Has Big Bakole got his opportunity? That's when the next level comes. But Simon Jordan, we're not ready for that yet. We need that this year to see this fight. Otherwise, we're going to be looking back in 5-10 years' time with that. Oh, they never fought. What a shame. Why? Carl Brook was too late, granted, but at least it happened. This isn't too late. Joshua's not old, and Fury's coming off, I think, 2 very good performances against Usyk. They're not has-beens. They're not being retired for 3 years. They're coming back. Make the fight now.
Couldn't agree more, Adam. Great to catch up for the first time this year, and I'm sure we'll have many more of these conversations as the year unfolds, and plenty of boxing to get our teeth into. Thanks again for your time, and catch up soon, Adam.
Thanks, Josh. Hopefully I'll see you at the Premier League pretty soon. Luke Humphrey says pop down, so hopefully I might go to the one in Nottingham, which I think is in March. So maybe I'll see you there.
Yep, I'll be there. See you then.